Today I'm going to go over how to sell tickets in Bookmanager, and we've actually made some improvements to selling tickets online as well. So if you get the latest update to Bookmanager, you will have improved online ticket selling functionality. So I'll go over both selling it in Bookmanager, the software, and also how to list tickets online, because this gets asked more and more these days. So the first step is we need to prepare the ticket in Bookmanager. So you need to first make sure you have a class that you're going to put your ticket sales through. So your F4 classes, when you're in Bookmanager, you can do an F4 to get your class list. And as you know, the class is very important to determining where sales are put for analytics and for reporting, and it's also how taxes are associated to products. So you want to make sure that you have a ticket class set up. It can be called anything, but we just call it tickets to make it really simple. We've done a variety of different types of tickets where different types of taxation is required. So we actually have 3 different classes for tickets. We have tickets which has no tax. You can see blank. We also have tickets for GST and for the full HST, depending on what is involved with that ticket. So you'll also notice here that we've, with the class, we've given it its own section code so that we can look at the sales separately just for tickets. We've also specified a 0 in the % column. This tells us, a Bookmanager, not to discount this item, so that if you do a 20% off sale, or a customer has a discount attached to their account, it's not going to give them a discount on the tickets. Usually tickets are a set price and you don't discount them. Same goes for points. We put 0 in this field so that you don't get points on tickets. That's just our store's policy. And then lastly, this is more of a step if you use the general ledger or you use the GL to produce some reports for accounting. But you can choose to put your ticket sales to a different general ledger account, not your general sales account, but like a different, post the sales to a different account. So it's kept separate from your daily sales. This is in our system done because we oftentimes, the tickets we are selling, or pretty much every time we're selling tickets, it's not for an in-store event, but we're kind of a community hub for selling tickets. So a local music venue will drop off tickets for us to sell on their behalf. And so we'll collect money and maybe a small service charge, but basically those ticket sales aren't part of our daily sales. They're not going towards our sales. So we don't want that reflected on our end of day printout. If we had an event and we sold a ton of tickets, it may make us think that we did really well that day, but we, again, we're giving that money to the venue, so that doesn't count towards our sales. So you can actually put a different account here to override the default sales account. This is more of a power user function, so feel free to leave this blank, and especially if you were just doing tickets for your own store events, you want to make sure your class has this blank so that it's part of your regular sales, unless of course you want to break it out. With a class set up in the system, now you can set up the inventory item. So in 2 for inventory, we have chosen to do a numbering system starting with TK. So all ISBNs, all of our ticket ISBNs have a TK at the beginning. And this is just our choice. You can use whatever you want, whatever numbering system you want, but we found TK for ticket has been pretty easy, and we just basically increment the numbers as we need more and more tickets. So let's start a new ticket. So I'm going to do N for new here. If you find your last ticket, and do an N for new, it's going to move up the number. And I'm just going to change this to 388 because I was playing around in the Webstore earlier and I don't want to have any strange results here. So I'm going to give it 388, which should be empty. The next thing we also need with the ticket is what's called an ASAN number. So this is for if you want to list the ticket on your website so that customers can buy your tickets on the web. You need to tell Bookmanager to, yes, even though this doesn't have a valid ISBN or product number, upload it to my Webstore, show it on my Webstore. So the way you do that is you simply, in the secondary product field here, type the letter A and then press enter. The system will automatically generate a number that it recognizes as, yes, please upload this. This is kind of your special in-house Bookmanager ISBN number it's created. And again, this typing A and pressing enter will generate the number and it will increment it. So you don't have to keep track of your ASANs. The system will look at what the next available number is and assign it accordingly. Pretty easy. Same thing, like any other book item, you want to assign a price. So let's give it $10. We can put in a description. So we'll just say sample ticket, and don't worry about an author if you don't need it, or binding. Pub date, don't need. You do need a supplier, usually the store's supplier code. So MB is ours. So you want to make sure your store has its own supplier code set up. And then again, there's that class. So in this case, I'll just use our usual tickets, the no tax one. And the note field, this is another important thing. If you are, most often with tickets, you're not going through receiving. You're not actually going through 9 through receiving and bringing tickets in and assigning a cost to them. It's just, it's not really needed because you don't need entries in the accounts payable and so on and so forth. So what you do instead, since you're not going to be receiving anything and therefore you're not going to have any on hands, for most of you, you can put in 2 caret symbols in the note field, and that'll tell Bookmanager to allow you to sell this item even though you don't have any on hands. If you have a set number of tickets and you can't go below that amount, don't worry about this. You can leave that out of the note field, and then you can also assign, A for adjust, a quantity into your system. But for a lot of us, we're oftentimes don't care, especially if it's an in-store event, we don't really care about tracking the on-hands. You want to just sell as many tickets as possible. So just put those carets in. And then I also like to put a little note in here about the event itself. So I usually put the date, when the event is, and, where it is. So if you're doing it's all up to you what you want to put in the notes, but we found in the past it's been handy to put in the day, where the event is, and if there's any other special stuff there's actually a senior's price of $8 or something. You can do that as well. Oops, I need the slashes. / at symbol 8 will give you a dual price. So at the point of sale, you'll have both $10 and $8 as a price to choose from. But again, these are more details that you can, of course, figure out yourself. The last step is if you are wanting to put these on your website and you don't have on hands in your system, well, you want to show that you have it available to order or to buy online. So this is where we've added a new feature to the OS stat field. So here in this field, you can actually type the letter A, just like you would in the product field, and you press enter, and then it's going to basically put the word available in this field. And that basically tells the web store that yes, you don't have on hands or anything on order for this, but it still show it on the web store to your customers as available. It's in stock. You can buy it. So that's a little important step. So with those details in place, you can page down, and you've done some things right. Your caret should show up in red, the avail should show up in red. You're in business. If you have live syncing, Webstore syncing turned on for your system, you'll see up here in the upper right hand corner a little squiggle happening here. Usually indicates that live syncing is turned on, but that's not always the case. So you can always talk to us if you don't know what that means. But basically, live syncing was a feature rolled out about a year ago, and it allows your Bookmanager system to send inventory changes up instantaneously to your website, so that you don't have to wait for your daily scheduled routines to run to rebuild your on-hand file, and so changes basically aren't sent just once a day, but they happen all throughout the day. So with that in place, this ticket should basically be uploaded onto the website. Now, depending on how many changes are happening throughout the day, sometimes it's a 5-minute delay or so. So if you created this ticket and it's not showing up, come back in 5 minutes, it'll probably be on your website. So I'm going to press W for Webstore, and it's now going to launch my website, and hopefully the ticket is there. Woohoo! So it's on my website, but it looks terrible because it has no information. So that's where you want to now use the handy dandy pencil icon here. Every item in your system on your web store has a little pencil icon below the cover, and that allows you to edit the information about this particular product. And you have to, of course, be logged in as the store in order to get that button. But I'm going to click this pencil icon, and I can do things like add more author information, different dates. I can really clean this up. But the big thing most people what they want to do is add an image. So you have this upload image area here where you can actually browse for an image on your desktop. And images have a max dimension of 400 pixels, either tall or wide. So just when you're designing an image, the maximum, the biggest it needs to be is 400 pixels in any height or width dimension. So I've added an image. You can also add a description here. So if you wanted to add a main description, you could click go and new and put in, whatever you want into this box, and it will add a description. And when you're all done with that, I close this little box here. Everything kind of saves as you change it. And then what I like to do is just a little F5 or, refresh your browser. And then you should see the image pop up. And if I click the more info button, you'll see that description that I put in there as well. So you've got, a ticket available on your website. The ISBN to link to, if you ever want to do any linking or whatever, is basically this ASAN number here. You've got your internal number, your VN number, the TK number that's used internally, but this is the kind of the all-important number, that A number, that if you're ever wanting to share or look it up, in a quick way on your site, use this number here. You can see up top, that's how it's searched for on your web store. And you can also see, just a side note, it says in store now. It says Y, yet as in yes. But when your customers look at this, I'll just log in as my customer. It'll just say in store now. So pretty simple there. So let's switch back to the admin account. The last thing that people oftentimes do will create events and want to make that event ticketed, and they'll want to list that event on their site. So that's where, you'll use the pencil icon here to then create new event. And when you create a new event, where is this? Oh, right down here. Right here, there's an event tickets. If the book is the ticket, you just put the book's ISBN, but if it's kind of an event where you buy a book, you can buy a book, or you have a separate ticket to sell, you can put that ticket number, that ASAN number in here, and that will then show up as part of the event. So this kind of ties it all together. So I won't actually save this event, but you get the gist there. And that would just appear on your, event calendar here. And, they'd have, instead of a buy books button here, you'd have a buy tickets button you can click on that will link to that ticket to buy. Selling the ticket in Bookmanager is pretty simple. It's just like any other book item. So you'd start a new sale, and this is where having like a decided upon standard for your naming your tickets will come in handy, because then you can just type in the word or the beginning letters TK, and I can press enter, and then I can get all my most recent tickets kind of showing up, and then I can select from the list, or if you know it, you can just type in the exact one. But basically right at the bottom here, sample ticket, there I can bring it up and sell it pretty simply. And again, online orders would come in with this ticket already in there. It's already all set up and linked up and ready to go. So that's it. That's kind of the long and short of it. One more thing to reiterate about this, because there's basically two ways you can do tickets. You can either have tickets that you are just selling, kind of an infinite number. You don't care how many you have to sell. But if you do have a ticket where you have a finite number of tickets to sell, remember to remove those points there. You don't need the OS stat. And then what you want to do is A for adjust the amount of tickets that you actually have in your that you have available to sell. You can A for adjust it in, or if your code, if your login, like if I log into the system, and I don't know if my code has it, but some logins will allow you to actually E for edit and access the total on hand field directly. So either one of those will work, editing the on hand or doing an A for adjust to get some on hands in your system. So I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, give me a shout back. I'd be happy to talk about all the variety of corner cases, because with tickets there are a lot of corner cases, and we've come across quite a bit with all of our users. So if I didn't cover what you're looking to do, just give me a shout and we'll figure it out.